Forget the neat version of U-boat life. In 1939 to 1941, the problem wasn't just depth charges. It was seconds, jammed hatches, twisted valves, men trapped by their own gear. Regulations said equipment was standardized, inspected, and unaltered. The ocean didn't care, so some crews bent the rules with quiet, practical modifications, often using parachute hardware meant for a different kind of emergency. These are the 7 banned parachute mods U-boat crews used as escape gear. Number 7. Modified parachute harnesses. Escape rigs that defied regulation. Kriegsmarine practice leaned hard on standardization. Personal equipment was supposed to match issue patterns, be logged, and stay compatible with shipboard drills. U-boat escape planning emphasized the boat, not the man, breathing sets, hatches, and procedure, not private harness experiments that could snag in a 53-centimeter tube. But parachute harnesses were compact, strong, and already engineered to hold a human body under shock loads. In French Atlantic ports after the 1940 armistice, places like Lorient and Saint-Nazaire, men sometimes had access to Luftwaffe surplus and dockside repair shops. The temptation was obvious. Strip the canopy, keep the webbing, and turn it into a lift and drag rig. Extra D-rings, shorter shoulder straps, a waist loop you could grab with numb hands. The goal wasn't elegance. It was to give shipmates something to haul when ladders were flooded and the deck angle went wrong. When it worked fast. 2 men could pull a third clear without fighting slick wool or a slipping belt. When it failed hard. Loose webbing could catch on hatch combings or valve wheels, turning, "Help me out," into, "I'm stuck," at the exact moment the boat was losing air. Number 6. Quick release buckles. Illegal convenience that saved lives. Official gear favored security over speed. Belts, straps, and lashings were meant to stay closed under motion, spray, and impact. Anything that might accidentally open was viewed as a hazard, especially inside compartments packed with piping, electrical runs, and protruding fittings. But quick-release hardware existed, and it was proven. Parachute buckles and snap hooks were designed for a human problem. You have to separate from your gear right now. Some U-boat men quietly swapped plain strap closures for parachute-style releases on improvised drag straps, duffel lashings, or even small personal belt rigs. The logic was cold and simple. In a sinking boat, you don't want to be tied to anything, especially not something that can wedge you in a hatch or pin you against a frame. In a successful case, a quick release meant a man could shed a snagged line instantly and keep moving while the compartment filled. The downside was just as real. Salt, grit, and corrosion could jam a spring gate. And there's a darker failure mode. A release that opens under strain, dropping the man you were trying to hoist, or dumping essential gear into the sea because the buckle did exactly what it was built to do: open fast. Number 5. Flotation add-ons. Non-standard buoyancy boosts. Uniform rules existed for a reason. Buoyant gear changes how you move. It can trap you against an overhead, make you roll in a narrow hatch, or turn a controlled climb into a fight. Official flotation, when available, was supposed to be standardized, checked, and integrated with drills, not cobbled from whatever was on the pier. And yet crews operating from the French Atlantic bases in the 1940-41 period had a very clear mental picture of their worst day: cold water, fuel on the surface, and distance to land. Some men improvised buoyancy with what parachute equipment offered: kapok pads, air bladders, even folded fabric bundles lashed to a harness as a crude float. The smart versions were low profile, meant to keep your mouth out of the water without turning you into a cork inside the boat. The dumb versions were bulky. People still wore them. When the balance was right, extra flotation could keep an exhausted swimmer alive long enough to be picked up or to reach a shoreline. When it was wrong, it could kill you earlier, pinning you in a hatch, making you snag on fittings, or forcing you face down if the buoyancy sat in the wrong place. Number 4. Compact line, knife kits. The cut-and-run kits not in the manual. Naval regulations didn't encourage personal escape kits in the modern sense. Blades were controlled. Lines were ship's equipment. The intent was safety and discipline: fewer loose knives in cramped steel spaces, fewer unauthorized cords that could foul machinery or get wrapped around a boot. But escape at sea creates a different problem set. Nets, floating wreckage, parachute shrouds, lines from rafts or debris that loop around an arm when you're half conscious. So some U-boat sailors assembled small line and knife bundles, often using compact knives and cordage scavenged from parachute assemblies. The point wasn't fighting, it was cutting yourself free with one hand. Kits were kept small, sometimes lashed flat to a harness strap or tucked where it wouldn't print under clothing. If you're thinking like a man planning to drown, you don't want a big sheath. You want something you can reach blind. In a good outcome, a knife and a few meters of line meant you could free a snag, tie yourself to a float, or stabilize a wounded man in the water. In a bad one, a blade in panic hands meant self-inflicted cuts, lost grip strength, and blood in cold water, small injuries turning into total failure. If you had to choose, would you carry the knife anyway, knowing it could also hurt you? Before we move on, what's your priority in a sinking submarine? Cutting yourself free, or avoiding anything that could snag in the first place? Tell us below. And if you want World War II gear history without the movie version, subscribe. Top 3 gets even more uncomfortable. Number 3. Rubberized hood and goggle sets. Visibility that costs you breath. Submarine escape doctrine leaned toward built systems, not personal add-ons. Anything sealing around the face was suspect: fogging, panic, and the risk of trapping exhaled carbon dioxide. Official issue focused on breathing apparatus and orderly ascent, not improvised swim goggles in a steel tube. But cold seawater is a weapon. Eyes slam shut, salt burns, diesel sheen turns the surface into a stinging film. So some men experimented with rubberized hoods and goggles, cannibalized from parachute and flight gear: soft rubber edging, simple straps, sometimes waxed thread repairs to keep seams from tearing. The practical versions were minimal. Goggles only, worn loose until the last moment. The riskier versions tried to seal a hood at the neck with cord or tape, betting that a warmer face and working eyes mattered more than perfect breathing. When it worked, men surfaced able to see boats, coastline, even just which way was up in broken water. When it failed quietly. Fogged lenses, a strap snagging on a hatch edge, or a hood that made breathing feel wrong: small frictions that accelerate panic and burn precious seconds. Number 2. Map, compass, micro kits. Navigation you could lose in one wave. The expectation was blunt. Navigation belonged to the boat. Charts, compasses, and plotting tools were controlled items, accounted for, and kept where they could be protected from salt and theft. A sailor wasn't supposed to carry his own get-home kit, especially not one built from scavenged parts. But men still ended up in the water. And in 1940-41, operating from occupied Atlantic ports, shore could mean hostile shoreline patrols and a language you didn't speak. Some crews assembled micro-kits using parachute kit logic: small, flat, redundant. A button compass, a folded slip of paper with distances between headlands, a grease pencil note sealed in waxed fabric, then stitched into a seam or tucked behind a belt plate. The smart ones assumed you'd be half blind and shaking. Big print, simple bearings, nothing fancy. In the best case, a tiny compass kept a man from swimming in circles until exhaustion finished the job. In the worst, saltwater soaked the paper, the compass stuck, and the plan became dead weight: false confidence you only discover after you've committed to a direction. Number 1. Stashable civilian life vests. The forbidden bulk that sometimes mattered most. Officially, personal flotation wasn't a free-for-all. Anything worn had to fit movement through hatches and ladders, not interfere with equipment, and not create new snag points in a compartment built like a machine room. Bulky civilian gear failed those tests on paper. But civilian life vests existed in ports. Small inflatable types, kapok-filled vests sold for fishing boats. And U-boat crews had a grim advantage. They could picture their own surface in oil and debris. Some men stashed compact vests where they could be grabbed fast, rolled tight, laced with parachute cord, or stripped of extra ties and hardware to reduce snagging. Others kept them as contraband, surface insurance, betting they could don it after clearing the boat, not inside it. It wasn't bravery. It was arithmetic. Water temperature, distance, fatigue. When the choice aligned with reality, That illegal vest kept a man's airway clear long enough for rescue or landfall. When it didn't, the vest became a trap caught on a hatch lip, inflated too early, or simply too slow to retrieve while the compartment turned vertical. All these mods point to the same quiet truth: institutions design for averages, and war punishes individuals. A rulebook can't feel a hatch edge in the dark, or the way cold water steals your hands before it steals your strength. So men carried small, illegal answers, some smart, some reckless, and trusted them anyway. If you want World War II history without simplification, patriotic mythology, or documentary cliches, subscribe to Brass and Blitz. We'll keep following the gear, the decisions, and the consequences right down to the uncomfortable details.